If you're live and you know it, clap your hands.
Because we're live. Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. It is Sunday night. It's 2000. Do you know who your children are? I do, because I had to send my boy to bed without ice cream, and it was aggravating. Oh, we had dinner. We had this fantastic chicken pot pie. I told him he needed to eat a couple more bites before he could have ice cream. And I put, I, he took a big bite of his food. And then he went and got the bowl for me to put his ice cream in. I went to scoop his ice cream into the bowl, and he spit it in the trash right in front of me. I said, okay. So I sent him to bed, and I ate his ice cream. But that's not what we're here to talk about tonight. We want to talk about the news. Liars, lies, lies, and damn liars. Now, what do I mean? Cameron, I don't know what's happening, brother, but your video just keeps, your window just keeps randomly resizing. It's obnoxious.
I'm not resizing it, I swear.
No, I know it's not. I know it's not you. It's OBS. OBS is doing something fucky here.
Hey, well, guess what? Look, see, I have a nice, cute picture. We're ready to go, on standby. I'm still listening. Keep going.
Yeah, but all they see is the blue screen. Turn your camera back on. Your curtain is more interesting than that. I can try.
It is not an interesting curtain.
God, that's a whole lot of Cameron. Whoa! Extreme close up. Roger. Hopefully, okay. And now now it fixed itself again. So that's what we're supposed to see right there. Okay, that's enough of that. So here's what happened this week. Well, over the last week or so. A lot. There's been a lot of conversation, and we need the left to learn that criticism and hatred are not the same thing. They have a real hard time with this. When they hear criticism, they think it's hatred, and when they spout hatred, they think they think they're being critical. So it kind of came to the way the news reports are reporting things. Everything, Trump's tweet, which they like to say is racist. I had a bunch of articles pulled up, but then we had some technical difficulties and a reboot. Now I don't have. So we'll find the. I'll pull up some more articles in a minute, maybe, but maybe we can get through this without them. Anyway, so the Donald put out this tweet, and it's funny. I think it's really funny. There are 52 immigrants that are members of the House of Representatives. 52. Donald Trump did not call anybody by name. He didn't say, hey, the squad. He didn't name 4 individuals. The only attribute that he put in there as identifiers is that the 4 people in question happen to be female. Okay, so that probably eliminates about half of those 52 or whatever it was immigrants that are currently elected in the office. Okay, so now we're down to what, 26 possible targets, which those 26 targets do not include 3 of the squad, right? 3 of those nutbags are born and bred. Now, Ilhan Omar, now she's a transplant. She was born in the enemy's native lands, but he singled out that it was a group of women, that they were hateful, that they were anti-American, and that they were anti-Semites. And these four goofy bitches stood up and had a press conference and identified themselves. Hey, we're the anti-American Jew haters that he was talking about, and we don't appreciate being told not to hate America. That's hate speech.
Oh, Chris, man, Did you watch it? They were
Oh,
so brave, so bold, so beautiful.
yeah, yeah.
It is really funny though. And look, let's be realistic. You had to know that one of the people he was directing this toward was Ilhan Omar. I mean, if you've got an
Well,
IQ
yeah,
above
that's
room
easy. I
temperature,
mean, she is a foreigner, and she is a just unapologetic anti-Semite.
well, and a Marxist, and somebody that has this real anti-American strain as part of. I mean, everything about their intersectional identitarian politics means like Ilhan Omar can get pretty far in the victimhood Special Olympics, you know, um, and because of that, they can't see past themselves. I guess what I'm trying to say is Democrats project somewhere in their heart of hearts, they know that they actually feel hateful things and think hateful thoughts by their own definitions thereof. Man, I'm just all over the place on the sides, aren't I? It's awkward to look at out of the side here.
Yeah, it's killing me.
It's the CIA. They don't want two guys to go on YouTube and have 12 people watch them to talk about politics. We're on the watch list.
I just fixed it again. Hopefully, it'll stay fixed this time.
But it's so funny. It's the party that talks about dog whistles and coded language and all this other stuff. They're the ones that fall for it. They're the ones that think things like, is a white power symbol. Because there was a
Oh,
thread
don't forget
about
the
it.
14 words.
Oh, is it twice as bad if there's 28? Is
No.
it? No? Well, darn. But it was their own guilty conscience. Like, because what Donald was really getting at is, I'm sick of your anti-American stuff. And because they actually have anti-American feelings, they couldn't help it. And I don't know if you want to go into the 4D chess of it at all, because it was just like he went, hey, hey, hey. And they went, oh, 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 and they came running, dude. They
Is that joke
like,
racist?
what? No, is it?
Didn't
Nah,
Roseanne lose her show for calling somebody a monkey?
I didn't call anybody a monkey. I was just grunting expressively. I was running hard.
I know.
No, 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 no. Look, look, look. I'm a 30-year-old congresswoman that um, thinks she's genius, and I can't wait to get in front of the microphone because that stupid Donald Trump has turned me into a victim, and I'm gonna get him now.
God, she's dumb as a box of rocks.
Yeah, she's a great actress though.
You know, when I first heard that whole thing about, oh, AOC is a hired actress, I was like, wow, oh, oh, it's not even a controversial claim. It's not only is it not an unfounded conspiracy theory, like her trying out for her auditioning for the part as an actress is all caught on tape, and it's like it's not even a controversial claim. It is mere fact.
Yeah, yeah. And since we're talking about anti-American stuff, I have something that I'd like to bring up. Hey, Chris, if you violate American laws on purpose with contempt, do you really love America or do you really dislike America?
That depends. Was the law passed by a Democrat?
Let me ask it a different way.
Oh no, I meant that response in all seriousness. Under Barack Obama, the rules of engagement in Afghanistan prevented us from being able to return fire on heavily armed uh, enemy soldiers if they were too close to a fruit tree, for fear that it might reduce that it might cause hardship in the local populace. Uh, I had a very different set of rules of engagement, precisely because of the value of the mission. But that was the general rules of engagement for most of them. So, no, serious question: is it a law passed by a Democrat? Because real
I don't know.
patriotism probably says
Was
Tea
it
Party, the Great Society.
well, that depends. Was it a Republican or a Democrat that passed the law that said marrying your brother to sneak him into the country might be all kind of illegal?
Ooh, that's an interesting question. I couldn't tell you that.
But yeah, that's why I bring it up. My point is, of course, she's so
But
anti-American.
yes, immigration fraud is a crime.
She flouts our laws. She seems to know better. She doesn't seem to do better, but she seems to know better. Um, so yeah. Donald Trump did a not racist tweet, a tweet that didn't invoke race, didn't call anybody out by name. These four, I mean, basically Marxists, for lack of a better term. Actually, that's not for lack of a better term. It's because that's how accurate it is. They're Marxists. They're cultural Marxists. They're economic Marxists. They really do believe this whole intersectional white patriarchy, internalize your misogyny, internalize your racism bullshit. And they really do believe that Donald Trump is Cheeto Hitler. And they actually think they're making the world a better place by trying to bring America down a peg and trying to bring the president down a peg. But like the word racist, like seriously, I've been hearing it for so long. Like, go back 10 years ago now. Joe Biden's on the campaign trail, and he tells a group of black people, hey, they want to put y'all back in chains. I mean, I've literally been hearing it my entire life. Bush is a racist. Bush hates black people. Bush let people drown in Katrina on purpose and all of that other craziness. And John McCain was a racist and oh, he's a homophobe and he's all these terrible things. And Mitt Romney, again, racist, homophobe, whatever. At this point, part of the pleasure I get in supporting Donald Trump is how bad it pisses people like them off that people like me support Donald Trump because I'm just so sick of it. And Donald punches back. Do I wish I had a president that didn't tweet things that are potentially vile?
No.
Could you say, well, look, I'd actually like to get back to something other than Looney Tune land, where the president doesn't have to be deliberately offensive just so he can get things done. I'd like for us all to be grown-ups.
No, I'm glad you said that. I'm glad you said that. So, because I do hear there are a lot of Republicans out there right now who need to hear this. Mm,
I'm listening.
Good cup of coffee. I might have to have a shortbread cookie with it. So, I often see I often see on Facebook, Twitter, so on and so forth, people talk about, I like what Donald Trump's doing. Um, Ben Shapiro, Andrew Klavan, a lot of the big popular conservative talking heads, except for basically Hannity, they didn't like Trump in the primary. They voted against Hillary, and they're going to vote for Trump again because the left is so insane. But they'll say things like, yeah, I wish he was a little more presidential. I wish he didn't tweet all the time. I wish he didn't say some of the things he says, but you can't argue with his results. You wish he didn't say some of the things he said, but you can't argue with his results. The Democrats attempted to impeach George W. Bush, George H.W. Bush, Ronald Reagan. They have literally filed articles of impeachment for every Republican president. They have attempted to impeach every Republican president. They have not made as big a deal of it as they have with this one. They haven't made it a campaign issue in the way that they have with this one. But, and they called Ronald Reagan Hitler. They called Herbert Walker Bush Hitler. They called W. Hitler. They called John McCain Hitler and Mitt Romney Hitler. I don't know if y'all remember I actually found it quite humorous, but Joss Whedon did a PSA during the campaign, Romney v. Obama campaign, where he basically made the claim that if Romney got elected, we would lose our health care and then we would be living in an actual zombie apocalypse. And it was all tongue-in-cheek and it was funny, but it was that kind of stuff. Look at the people who are in office now. Look at the squad and so forth. If Donald Trump did not employ the rhetoric that he does, do you think that the level of discourse would be higher than it is? It would
Look,
not.
look, let me be really clear. I understand exactly the point that you're making. And one of the things I really appreciate about Donald Trump is the fact that he can be such a disruptive influence and he understands how to tactically use his ability to disrupt people around him. Uh, when I say that I wish he didn't say and do some of the things that he says, I guess what I'm really wishing for is we hadn't gone this far into clown world where open socialists are in the front of the pack for the Democrat, 2020 nominee.
I got you. Here's um Plato, the Republic. They talk about several different types of government, and the best form of government. I don't entirely agree with this, but it's an interesting argument. Involves this kind of uh, cast of volunteer slaves to the state, philosopher kings, or a totally dictatorial philosopher king, an absolute despot philosopher king, a man who is good and wise and has absolute authority in all matters of politics, legislation, litigation, and jurisprudence. So, would I prefer that we were governed by wise, rational people, decent, moral people? Absolutely. The Democrat will not tolerate governance by rational, moral people. I didn't like Romney. I like him less now than I did then. I thought he was
That's the
weak.
damn
I thought
truth.
he was soft. He struck me then as a coward and barely to the right of Barack Obama when he ran against him. I'm not sure now that he's not to Obama's left. frankly. But he was an exemplar of decorum and courtesy. He's a devoutly religious man. He's a hard worker, a good, a good industrialist,
Yeah, and
and
Obama smashed him.
he
Yeah.
was murdered. His political career, his campaign, was murdered by libel and slander and false claims and accusations and unfair characterizations. The left will not tolerate the assent of a moral man. So, what is required today is that a man like Trump, whose morals are less stellar than I would prefer, be allowed to serve as the hammer to smash them.
I'm not
We need to have
disag-
a conversation offline about starting a movement. I'm going to mention it here now, and I want to talk about it a little more in the future. I want to develop this idea before I go into more detail here. I would like to open up some sort of a pack or something whose stated goal, like the manifesto, the stated goal is to uh, fundraise for the purpose of hiring a legal team to go to the Supreme Court and have the Democrat Party dissolved and have all of their elected members removed from elected offices on the grounds that following the Clinton email scandal and now uh, the activity of Nancy Pelosi on the floor going unpunished, that
Oh,
since the
now
party has
Chris.
decided that, hang on, don't interrupt this.
Sorry.
Since the party has determined and clearly demonstrated that it believes its members are above the law and are immune to the rules, that they cannot be trusted to govern. And I'll take that a step further. That because Nancy chose to break the rules, and this isn't the first one, by the way. Remember when she persisted? You remember this?
Oh, I
When
remember
when
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 she
Pocahontas altered the narrative of
Larwatha.
yeah, when Liarwatha altered the narrative of the X-Men show by persisting.
No, actually, it was the show that it was Marvel's Agents of Shield that came out after she said
Yes,
it, and
that's it.
it just, yeah, it struck me watching it. Anyhow, no deep dive, guys, a lot of nerdy. Anyhow, look, I
And
get where you're
I've
coming.
seen that pop up in a few other places too, but but here's my
Look,
point.
go ahead.
I've made the argument before that anyone who runs for office on platforms like gun confiscation and the like, and talks about passing laws rather than amending the Constitution for the purpose of getting rid of guns, or talks about hate speech without a constitutional convention, they can't serve because they cannot take the oath of office in good faith. A person who believes that they can abridge the natural rights of humans through legislation and not through the constitutional convention process does not understand the oath that they're taking to begin with, or is deliberately misleading us when they take that oath. Now that we have the Clinton email case, the case that she persisted with Liarwatha, and Nancy Pelosi's bullshit this week, where the Democrats voted to allow her to break the rules. Now, let me be clear. I want to make sure that you understand what happened here. Nancy Pelosi got up on the House floor. The Speaker of the House knowingly violated the rules of the House, which refuse, which forbid the use of character attack You're not allowed to impugn someone's character. On the House, you're supposed to be making an argument. You're supposed to have a legal basis for that argument. You're not supposed to be arguing, you're not allowed to argue that someone's a racist. Ad hominem is not an argument. She broke that rule. She knew damn well she was breaking that rule. And the Democrats did not vote to change the rule. They did not vote on an argument that what she had done was somehow an exception to the rule or did not violate the rule. They acknowledged actively that she had intentionally violated the rule, and then they voted to waive the punishment. This is especially significant since the punishment, the remedy after violating a House rule of this nature, is that part of it is that you're censored. You're not allowed to speak anymore for a time. But more importantly, the violent speech is stricken from the record. It was not. So now it is entered into the record. And that was the whole point, because the Democrats wanted it entered into the official record of the House that Donald Trump is a racist. And so they did that. And let's not forget Cory Booker. Cory Booker and his whole "I am Spartacus." I'm breaking the rules. I know I should probably be thrown off this committee. He wasn't. He was not punished. He should have been removed from office. That's what the rules say. So the argument that I'm putting forward now is the Democrat Party should be dissolved. In a country that believes that no man should be allowed to have too much power, the Democrat Party has decided that it is immune to the law, and it should be dissolved. And I do mean
for
it
a
should
thing
be
you just,
dissolved by the force of, it should be dissolved by the force of law.
Chris, for a thing you said you just wanted to mention, that was a hell of a mention.
Yeah, I know. Well, we need to discuss the logistics of how to pull it off. I don't really know how to do it yet.
But you're going to have all those displaced Democrats. And by the way, I'd like to point out that Nancy Pelosi did get in trouble. She was stripped of her speaker status for, man, like a good 60 minutes. Like, she paid a heavy price to enter it into the official congressional record that the president is a racist.
I wish your camera would just stop playing fuck games with me. It's
I'm not doing it, I swear.
You need to. And I don't know what's going on here. I think it's actually the OBS stuff. I don't think it's your camera, because your Skype feed looks fine. But anyway, yeah, I went a little bit further down that I had intended to here. But what do you think?
But look, good plan, right? Especially since we've had such accelerationism. The way the Overton window has shifted. Like, if you go back even 10 years and you listen to some of the things Obama said about border control, it wasn't really that different from the things Trump wants done now. Chuck Schumer, even Bernie Sanders, like Bill Clinton.
Oh yeah, we've been down that. They were all pro-wall before Trump ran on it. It's that every single Democrat was pro-wall before Trump.
Yeah. So that all in mind, I think dissolving the Democrat Party, especially since they are becoming the party of Marxist terrorists, and I really don't think that's very hyperbolic to say. It's not completely there yet, but
yes, it is.
Well, small sections of it are there. It's not yet that person that you see on Facebook posting the things about Cheeto drunk bad. Oh my God, they're making pregnant women drink out of toilets in the concentration camp. You know, I'm
Have you
so
seen a
smart.
single prominent Democrat denounce the Antifa terrorists that tried to firebomb the ICE facility?
No, I haven't. But here's the thing about denouncing. Our side denounces things all the time, perpetually. No, we're not racist. No, we're not homophobic.
That's
No, we're
right,
not.
because because a tactic of the left is to constantly try and label us with non-falsifiable accusations. You're a racist. No, I'm not. Yeah, well, prove it. You can't prove a negative. And if you come at me with a non-falsifiable accusation, it's because you're a goddamn liar, and you know it. However, when you've got reporters following the squad around and asking them, will you denounce, will you disavow, will you disassociate yourself from the Antifa terrorist that firebombed the ICE facility, and they very carefully avoid answering the question. You know
Oh,
what?
you mean kind of like how?
I'm happy to make the claim. They all support, unless they say otherwise publicly, they are supporting that activity. And this is
Oh,
not a hard leap to make, because when we look at somebody like Ilhan Omar, she is an active and avowed, she is a self-proclaimed sympathizer with basically every terrorist organization. She's never met the terrorist organization she didn't want to send a paycheck to.
yeah. Plus, she was willing to commit a felony to sneak her brother into the country. So
Do you like
terrorism.
incest?
I actually try not to
You mean
make that
polygamy?
joke. Look, so terrorist activity. And
Have you been licensed fraud?
and supporting terrorists.
Marriage fraud?
You
Immigration
got.
fraud?
I said that one first.
You said no. You said a felony. I'm listing the several that she's likely guilty of, given the circumstances.
Fair enough.
That's the funny thing. It's almost never just one crime.
Well, I mean, I guess that's why it's the word criminal. So, speaking of criminals and the madman who tried to firebomb an ICE facility, I think we're not. I think we're not quite there yet because the tweets that I'm about to read from Sean King, the Talcum X leader of Black Lives Matter. I mean, the guy's so brilliant. He really is. Let me tell you. Like, anyhow, he tweeted this and has since deleted these tweets because it was determined that these tweets were too offensive to remain in the public eye. And it's not really that they were offensive. It's just that they were honest. Yeah, that's what it really is.
But let me just say this real quick, because we're going to talk about free speech a little bit in a minute. I hope we may not get there. We've only got 20 minutes left. But if I'm not mistaken, he deleted the tweets after he got a bunch of crap about it in the press, right?
Yes.
He deleted the tweets.
Oh, yes.
So I just want to be clear that Twitter did not somehow censor his pro-terrorism tweets.
But they sure did get rid of Milo.
Yeah, they didn't censor his racist pro-terrorist tweets. No, just like they didn't in any way try to censor Spike Lee when he tweeted out George Zimmerman's address, because every incidence of doxing is attempted murder. Period.
So Sean King tweeted this and then deleted it. William Franz Bronson just became the first martyr attempting to liberate imprisoned refugees from a for-profit detention center in Tacoma, Washington. His hero was John Brown, the white abolitionist who led the raid on Harper's Ferry in 1859. This is what our country has come to. And he tweets a picture and then continues. We are told that this is the final letter of William Van Spronson, who was shot and killed by law enforcement as he attempted an attack on a for-profit refugee detention center in Tacoma, Washington. It is a beautiful, painful, and devastating letter. He wasn't crazy, and action is. And then the last tweet, man, this is where Willem was murdered this weekend. Just stop right there. I'll read the rest of the tweet. This is where Willem was murdered. This is not where Willem tried to go blow up a giant propane tank and kill God knows how many people. No, 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 no. This is where he was murdered. He's just walking around with pistols and Molotov cocktails, and he was totally misunderstood. Totally. Okay. His actions will be called terrorism, and people will call him crazy, but neither are true. His mind was very clear. Okay, so the crazy terrorist, you're right, Sean King. People are going to call his actions crazy. They're going to say he is a terrorist because, well, no, he not is a terrorist, was a terrorist. But yeah, he's not crazy. His mind was clear. He's a martyr. These camps must be shut down. And that's why he did all this, right? He felt justified because he thought these were concentration camps. They're not!
Oh,
They're not concentration camps. Sorry. Not trying to yell in your ears.
That's fine.
But,
That's fine. This is more that you hit the nail on the head earlier. This is more of that fourth generation warfare stuff that we've talked about, but we've been talking about on this show for 5-6 years now.
Oh yeah, he just activated. He got fed enough of this garbage about orange Cheeto bed, and you've internalized the patriarchy and your misogyny and your racism, and you believe what you believe because you've actually learned to secretly hate yourself. And oh my God, your intersectional identity is the most important thing above all. And if you're white and you're male and you're Christian, you need to just shut up and go away. Because
stop having babies and also kill yourself.
That's right. Stop having babies. Oh yeah, no. Look, demographics is destiny. But stop having babies. And by the way,
my part.
Yeah, I have 4 children too. Don't make me try and lap you, bro. Yeah.
Careful.
Anyhow.
You start that shit, I'll bring in a spare wife.
But no, that's the kind of terrorism that the Democrat Party in their heart of hearts is secretly okay with. And if you're some lib that happens to catch this and you're like, oh, I would never support such a thing, never. Yeah, let's just let the media prime you just a little bit longer. Feed you just a few more months to a year.
I've got a better question for you. Oh, Democrat, you would never support such a thing. Who'd you vote for last time? Because there are not dissenting voices in the Democrat Party right now. There are not dissenting voices against this kind of terrorism. They don't exist on the left. The left, by a broad margin and without exception at present, supports this kind of activity. They're demanding it. That's why we got the ball game practice shooter, the Bernie bro that shot Steve Scalise. That's why we got the synagogue shooting, where the guy was just infuriated that Donald Trump was not the white national socialist that he wanted. That's how we got a firebomber attacking the ICE facility. Okay, that's how we got the New Zealand shooter. He hated Donald Trump. That was his manifesto. He hated Donald Trump.
Now, don't go pointing out inconvenient things like that,
Oh,
Chris. I was in the middle of a full-blown rant. Ah,
apologies.
that's quite all right.
Now, so like, I mean, this show, we're in Georgia. Are you a Democrat in the state of Georgia? Did you vote for Erica Thomas? Is she in your district? Because you know she's the House Minority Speaker in the state of Georgia. You know who Erica Thomas is, Cameron? Are you tracking on this story?
No.
Oh, oh yeah, this is fun. Our in Georgia here, House Minority Speaker said that a man in a grocery store yelled at her, "Go back where you came from."
Oh,
She said a white man in a
yes.
grocery store yelled at her, "Go back where you came from."
Nope. Nope.
Tim,
Yep. I've seen the video.
Tim, Tim Pool did a bit on this, and he did some digging. So go watch his video. He gets into he goes into the details, the nitty gritty a little bit more. Apparently, the very next day, she did a press conference where she was talking about the event, right? And the guy who she says yelled at her shows up. Turns out he's not a white guy. He went out of his way to say, "I'm not white, I'm Cuban," right? So he's Cuban, so he's brown, I guess. That's what the Democrats call Hispanics now, is brown people. Because you know we don't need any more brown faces that aren't going to be a brown voice. I don't
Hey, but
understand how
we
they
got
can. But anyway, so he shows
a
up.
Black James Bond out of it, Chris. It's going to work out.
And well, we'll get there in a minute. If a black girl can play Ariel, then Scarlett Johansson can play a trans man. Um,
Especially when she's fronting the money for the movie. The movie didn't get made when she
right.
pulled out because
So
it was
anyway,
her money that was going to make
Homeboy
it.
shows up and he says, "Okay, no." So what happened was this bitch was in the 10 items or less line in the grocery store with a basket full of groceries, taking up everybody else's space and time. And they got in an argument with one another when he said asked her to go to one of the other lines so that everybody else didn't have to wait on her, right? And she yelled at him and he yelled at her, and he told her to go to the back of the line. And apparently this guy is like, Tim Pool uses the words. He says, "I looked into this guy and he has full on Trump derangement syndrome. He's a die-hard Democrat, hates Donald Trump, and his social media is just flooded with orange man bad NPC bullshit." So, whoops. So Erica Thomas has been busted for committing a hate hoax. Uh, Not on the
Now,
same
Chris.
level as Jussie Smollett. Well, let
Chris,
me
I was
ask you
about
this
to
question.
say, I'm
Let
sure
me
her
ask you
bleach
this:
was thawed.
Do you think she's going to suffer any consequences?
No, of course not. Dude, of course not. I was actually going to reference Stacey Abrams and her whole thing about Brian Kemp has run a steady campaign of voter suppression. You don't have to directly suppress votes in order to suppress votes. You can make things just a little harder over here and a little harder over there and a little harder over there. And voter ID is racist. Why would you want voter ID, you racist? I don't know, because I'm almost 40 and sometimes gas stations still card me when I buy beer. Like, duh. And, and again, it goes back to I'm just so sick of hearing the word racist. Voter ID is racist. Donald Trump is racist. Conservatism is racist. Capitalism is racist. Meritocracy is racist. I mean, it doesn't even mean anything anymore. Good God, I might have lost the plot. I got angry there, Chris.
Yeah,
No, I think I was trying to go to the tweets themselves are not racist. And at this point, even if the tweets are racist, I've heard the word racist so many times. I don't care. I don't. And I don't think the chant was racist either. Go back, or whatever. Send her back. Send her back. That was a riff on the last election cycle. Lock her up. And hey, just as part of the thread with what we're talking about here, is Hillary Clinton in jail? No, no, she's not. Hey, liberals, progressives, libtards, whatever. Just because a group chants it doesn't mean it's going to happen. I realize, given the fact that it happens so often on the left, while you might panic when you see people on the right do it, but you don't need to panic when people on the right do it, because if there really were concentration camps on the border, like 4 real concentration camps on the border, your average Trump supporter would be the person that has a dozen guns that he's going to throw into the back of his pickup truck and put a stop to it. But no, that's cool. Sean King can actually tweet out praising a domestic terrorist, a 69-year-old immigrant himself, domestic terrorist, and then just quietly delete the tweets later. No, he's still running Black Lives Matter. You know, what if Ben Shapiro? I mean, what if a similar tweet from him surfaced where he's like, "Oh yeah, this guy that committed these terrorist acts, he's awesome, and he's not crazy. He's beautiful and tragic." That would be the end of Ben Shapiro's show. Now, he gets accused of being a white nationalist and all of these other things over and over and over again. But he's not actually a white nationalist. Whereas you have a real terrorist, and he's supported by a black nationalist. And let's be honest, Black Lives Matter is a black nationalist order. They are. It is what it is. They don't want to hear from white people. They want white people to do what they say is best. See, they're the victim. They're the victim. You shouldn't even argue with the victim. The victim knows best. So yeah, they are terrorists. They do support terrorists, and everything that happened with the squad is all part of an artificial campaign. It is the definition of astroturf. None of it's real. I mean, none of it's real, people. They're not concentration camps. They're not. They're not. Read a little Bertrand Russell. Look up emotive conjugation. And then after you do that, look up the definition of the word concentration camp and look up the definition of the word detention center and realize, these two things mean almost exactly the same thing. But one has this incredibly negative connotation to it. And the other one is actually something you can kind of understand, even if you think it's a really sad and tragic situation. It's not an accident that the psychos, the liars, like AOC call them concentration camps. Nah, that's it. This terrorist believed what he was doing is the right thing. Because he too has heard the racist thing his entire life.
Yeah, it's the same thing as the Lois Lerner situation. It's just that all the rhetoric is violence now.
Oh yeah, no, look, nobody told Lois Lerner to accidentally keep putting Tea Party applications for tax exempt status in the bottom of the stack.
No, she just understood that it would please His Majesty.
That's right, Saint Obama. Yeah, because a Tea Party kind of came along and kicked him in the teeth in 2010, and that was not going to happen in 2012. No, sir. We cannot have that evil, racist Mitt Romney be president. Okay, I'm gonna kind of dial it back a little bit.
It's time for a smoky treat. So until next week.
The squad sucks. They suck. They suck, people. They suck. And if you're on their side, I pity you. I pity you. I pity you. Read. Like, you know what? This is what I want for you guys to do. Just give me this 1 second, Chris. When you see a meme that comes across Facebook, and it's got Cortez, and she's crying over how sad the treatment of the people in the camps is. Oh my God. Okay, look at the meme. Oh, that's a good book to read. Good call. Look at the meme. Think about the information that the meme is giving you, and treat it like you treat a thing that's been sitting in your refrigerator for a few days. You take it out and you open it and you give it a little smell test. The next time you see that we have concentration camps on our border, put your fucking bias confirmation aside and go, does that smell right? Do we really have concentration camps on the border? So yeah, do that. None of it's real. Or continue along in your intersectional paradise. I'm sure that will work out. And now I'm blowed out. Okay, I'm done. But the concentration camps are not real. Just reciprocity for a minute.
If you build a man a fire, he'll be warm for the evening. But if you set a man on fire, he'll be warm for the rest of his life. Go buy a copy of Basic Economics. Link in the description. I'll link it in the description so you can buy it now, because you need to read the book and stop being pulled in by goddamn communists. Good night, people. We'll see you next week.